Great leaders recognize that they cannot control how people react to them. They put their energy into things that they can control. Welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast, your go-to place for empowering behind-the-scenes stories of trailblazing women who work in the sports and event industry. I'm your host, Jahaan Blake, and I'm honored to bring you this free resource where you'll hear firsthand accounts of how these incredible women got their seat at the table. And I will personally share strategies to help develop your leadership skills in this industry. We've got a lot to explore together. I am so glad you're here. All right, Game of Her Own listeners, let's do this. When I was working for the Red Sox, I was part-time when I first started. Almost 2 years, I was a Fenway ambassador who worked games and non-game days. I had the opportunity on non-game days to work in the office. Now, I loved games, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to be in the office where all the action was happening. So I made myself available and I started working about 40 to 50 hours a week in the office and games. After I hit that milestone, I wanted more. I am naturally ambitious and I'm always thinking about what's next. There were no full-time jobs in the department that I was working in, and I knew that's exactly where I wanted to be. So I had two options: wait until my boss waved her magic wand and made me full-time, or ask for what I wanted. Ladies, I am not a patient person. So my introverted and slightly shy at the time self had to dig deep and ask for what I wanted. I remember being so nervous. What if she tells me I'm being unrealistic? What if she says no? What if she finds me annoying and says I'm going to start decreasing her hours? The worrying and what ifs took up so much space in my brain. They just set up shop and we're just living there rent free. Sometimes I think back about that energy I spent worrying and what would have happened if I redirected that energy to things I could control. At the end of the day, I couldn't control my boss's reaction. I couldn't control how she felt. I don't have that power. Do you ever do that when you are thinking about asking for exactly what you want? What have you been thinking about going after lately? I know you've been thinking about something. Are you doing what I did when I was trying to make a move at the Red Sox? Do you spend time making up stories, creating these narratives about how people react to what you want? Can we agree on one thing? It is a waste of energy. We only have so much time in a day. And what if instead of worrying about the reactions of others, we flipped it and put that energy into coming up with ideas on how to get a big fat yes? So I won't leave you hanging on the Red Sox story. After I got the courage to ask my boss to basically create a position that didn't exist, she said yes. And I became a full-time coordinator, making a whopping $32,000 a year. Yep, coordinator of fan services and events. And I was making $32,000 a year back in 2005. But let's break that down for a minute. Let's talk about the benefit of redirecting your energy. Instead of worrying, I could have spent time collecting data on what my salary should be. I literally had no idea what a starting salary should be for someone who just graduated with her master's. Now, are you thinking about asking for an increase in compensation? If you're nodding your head yes, or if you're thinking yes, I'm so excited for you. Regardless of your level, you should pour energy into determining what that number should be and why. You don't have to wait to be told what your new salary should be. What if you took what I like to call the worry energy and put it into doing research that empowered you to be an incredible negotiator? What if you took your worry energy and turned it into money energy? I have a little secret for you. Great leaders recognize that they cannot control how people react to them. They put their energy into things that they can control. I want to share another story with you. I was recently negotiating for a contract, and this is recent, very recent. And I picked up the phone and asked a trusted colleague what they thought of the number I was going to ask for. Was it too much? Was it crazy? Am I going to scare them away? Whew, this conversation. They broke down what others had asked for doing a similar role, and they shared what they had asked for and received, also doing a similar role. After a 10-minute conversation, I was equipped with so much knowledge that I increased the rate that I was going to ask for. Get this, because of the conversation with that trusted colleague, I increased my rate by 28%, y'all. 28%. The company didn't even question my rate. It aligned with the level of work I was doing. But the only way I knew that was by asking someone in my network. I thought I had the answers, but I thought, well, I'm not going to be shy about this. I like money and I want to make sure that I'm getting market rate. Let me ask some people in my network. And that information helped me so much. A 10-minute conversation. Let's go back to the Red Sox for a minute. I wonder what my starting salary would have been if I put all that worrying energy into money energy and figured out how to be paid my value and what that number will be. Listen, I guess I will never know. I'm going to move on because it was almost 20 years ago. I tell you that story because it's transformative for you to redirect your energy from worry energy to money energy. So, how can you use your network to make sure you are paid your worth? Let's break it down. Let's say you are a director and you want to become a vice president. That's a natural next step. Begin by talking to your colleagues, trusted colleagues. I recommend someone who doesn't work in your organization. You can say something along the lines of, I'm thinking of asking for an increase, and that would put my salary between $130,000 and $150,000. Do you think that's crazy? Sit back, see what they say. You will receive valuable information that will help you tremendously when it's time to negotiate for your new killer salary. The worry energy is now being spent on money energy. We all want that money. And if you're someone who's like, I don't really care about money, do you care about being paid your worth? Yes, I thought so. Or if you are still worried about asking for more money, ma'am, I need you to know this. You are talented, you are worthy, and you are valuable to your organization. That is why they hired you. So bring that money energy and get what you want. Get your worth. Don't forget, when you are working on that money energy, I want you to also expand your thinking beyond the money and think about total compensation. What else do you want? Do you want more vacation time? Do you want more days working from home? A car allowance, a commuter allowance? Get creative. Think about the things that you want that would help you do your best job and get you paid the value that you are worth. Get creative and keep it in your back pocket. Because if you don't get the exact salary you want, you have options when you're negotiating. If you do receive a no or a not that number, but you can, I can do this number. First question I want you to ask is if you can ever get to that number. And if the answer is yes, of course, then I want you to come up with a plan with your manager how you will reach that number and how long will it take. Because if they say yes and they're thinking, yeah, in like 5 years, but they don't tell you that, that might not sit well with you, right? So you can also come up with that plan, but then also pull those things out of your back pocket and ask for those and get those now. Let me be very, very clear here. Do not shrink to make your manager feel comfortable, right? Your manager, your boss can handle you being direct. It is never a bad thing to ask for your value. Never, never, never. If you don't do it, I guarantee you there is someone else in your organization who will. Remember, you are all asking to secure a salary increase from the same pot of money. Now is not the time for you to shrink. You deserve to be paid your value. Now, when we shrink and we don't go after what we want, we carry that around with us. You feel it. You feel it in your soul. And it starts to manifest. It starts to come out in a way that isn't pretty. There's frustration that will show up in your personal life. It will show up in your work. It will show up if you're managing a team. However, if you find the courage and show up and ask for what you want, even if you get a no, you will still have that confidence and you will still know that you went to bat for yourself. Let's be real, my friends. As much as I want to motivate you and inspire you and tell you to go after what you want, I also want to be real. You are not going to get every promotion or every job that you go after. Sometimes there's a negotiation and sometimes there's just a big fat no, not happening. There's a few things I want you to consider when you get a no. You can say, okay, I hear your no. Can you tell me how to get to a yes? What is missing in my performance? Make sure whatever feedback you receive is something you can measure, something you and your boss can measure. For example, if you were told you are not ready to be an executive yet because you lack executive presence. Okay, executive presence can be very subjective. How is your boss going to measure that? It can be done, but it is on you, unless you have a stellar, supportive HR department. It is on you to make sure that you and your boss are aligned as to how you're going to measure it, what that is going to look like. Another question you can ask if you get a no is, do you think I'll be an executive within the next 1 to 2 years? Or whatever timeline you were hoping for. The reason that question is important is your manager usually has insights into a bigger picture of the organization and what direction they are headed. Leadership might decide, getting a little top heavy. For the next step in promotions are for any directors, our senior director or junior director, senior director. Those are making up titles. You'll notice all of a sudden a different title pops up and it's like, oh, that's what we're doing now. They might have timelines that you're not aware of, but you can be by asking questions. The third question I want you to consider is, are you okay waiting? This is a very personal question. There's no wrong answer here. For my OG Game of Her Own listeners, you might remember Pam Ken, Senior Vice President of Community Alumni and Player Relations for the Boston Red Sox. She knew that she wanted to stay with the Red Sox. She wasn't going anywhere. And that impacted her negotiation leverage when she was going for a new job. But my girl knew how to make sure she got what she wanted. So if you haven't listened to her episode, definitely check out Pam Ken's episode number 50. I had a client who was the complete opposite of Pam. She was not willing to wait. So we came up with a strategy to help her make that jump to the executive level. She was going to do it at another company, and she landed a VP role. So as you ask for what you want, know that it's okay to be bold, persistent, and unapologetic. All great leaders are. This is your career. You only get one. My friend, I want to know, how do you plan to get what you want and deserve? Now, do you need some more resources? I got resources for you. I'm going to list all of these in the show notes, but real quick, I have a free training, totally free. Empower Your Career, Mastering the Art of Self-Advocacy for Promotions and Raises. In this training, I'm going to go over tactics like how to have meaningful interactions with your leaders, how to increase your confidence, and there's so much more. You'll walk away with the tools to confidently seize control of your career growth. There's over 200 Game of Her Own podcast episodes, but here are some that I recommend. Number 114, negotiation, how to get what you want. Number 104, how to make sure you're on the path to leadership. Number 107, the path to becoming an executive. And of course, let's not forget episode 50 with Pam Ken. Last but not least, you can head to jahaanblake.com/free and I have free exercises that will support you in asking your boss for a promotion or a raise. All right, my friends, I love spending time with y'all. I will end with this. I want to hear from you. What questions would you like me to ask any of the guests that we have? Or what questions would you like to ask me? You can email me at jblake@jahaanblake.com or message me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Both are at Jahaan Blake. All of them are listed below in the show notes. Thank you for sharing your time with me. It's an honor. Until next week, my friends.